What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Trading Learning 101. It's that time of the month again, as I would say, for another favorite best charts of September. So I've made one video of this so far, so this will be the second one. And this is just me every day all through September when the market was going on, taking snapshots of charts that I thought looked really good and interesting and that interested me. And I just want to show you the potential that's in the market, and these are some of my favorite charts from September. So I got 45 here, and let's jump right into it. And also, taking snaps of these charts every day and going over them every weekend helps a lot. Hope everyone had a good September. Put me up here. And there we go. So first up here, we have CEI. CEI popped off twice in September. Two times. It went from 50 cents to $1. I think the first time it went from 50 cents to like $1.25. And then the second time it went from 50 cents to it touched $1, and then it fell really hard down to 50 cents. And after looking into CEI, CEI has been diluting their shares. So what that means is their shares outstanding has been getting bigger and bigger because the insiders, like the CEO and the people that work for the company, have been selling off their shares, making the shares outstanding bigger, which means there's more shares available to trade, or that's out there to trade. Now moving on. Next up we got CRON, CRON. Now the pot stock sector all of September has just been on fire. CRON, NBEV, IGC, TLRY, all have been just hot. CVSI, a lot of potential in the pot sector, and it just goes to show you when all it takes is one stock to just go on a crazy move, and you're gonna have sympathy plays from stocks in that sector that follow. TLRY was the big one that went from $25. Within a couple weeks it touched $300. Now that's just crazy. And CRON, even these companies even came out with public offerings, and I thought it would kill the stocks, and it didn't. And they went sideways for 3 days, and then on the 4th, 5th day they just exploded up again. So this is the intraday 3-minute chart for CRON, and then right here we got the daily chart for CRON, and it just goes to show you going all the way back to August. This was at $6, and most recently it's touched $13. Just craziness. And then we see this gap up, consolidation, drops down, but then it starts to move back up, and then slowly moves up, and then we got this big sell-off, and then a big green day here, more consolidation, and a gap up. I didn't trade CRON at all, but I had it on the watch list to know it was TLRY and CRON I had on my watch list just to see how the pot stocks were performing. Next up is CVSI, just forming a descending triangle right here, which is a pattern I like. You connect the lower highs and you connect either the higher lows to form this pattern right here. And what I wait for is it to either break out to the long side or break out to the short side of the pattern. And this is the 65-minute chart. And I love looking at multiple time frames of charts. And you can see here recently they came out with earnings. And after they came out with earnings, this thing went from $3.50 or $3 to a high of almost $9. And this is a OTC stock. Here we got, I was just watching a YouTube video because I just recently bought a book, How to Read the Market Using Multiple Time Frames, and this was one of the pictures in the video, and this picture tells a lot of truth here. You got your disbelief as it starts to grind up, and then as you get a spike here and it consolidates, you get the hope, hoping that it continues to keep going as it's pulling back and consolidating, and then you get this huge spike here, optimism, and then it just starts going supernova, and you got belief in it, and it just starts going crazy, and you get a thrill, and then it just goes parabolic, and you get that euphoria feeling, and then it starts to crash down and starts to panic, and then that's when the anxiety kicks in, and then it just keeps panic selling and dropping, and denial, fear, panic, capitulation, and then you got anger, depression, and then it starts all over again with disbelief. It's just a great, great picture, and I just had to take a screenshot of it, and even take a screenshot of this and set it as your desktop background, and you see this over and over and over again in the market. Next up, we have EGC on the 15-minute, as we got this downtrend right here from $9, downtrend, and then we had a great gap up, and it had this range from 750 to 675, and then we just started grinding up back up to $8, and you can see here $8 was a big support for the stock as it touched it here, 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 and at one point it even was resistance. And it just goes to show you, when you look at the history and look at multiple time frames, you actually see where major support and resistance is, and it happens over and over again. That's why I took a screenshot of this to show you guys, and this is a perfect example. This is FRED going on a nice gap up here from 210 to a high of 277, a pullback right here down to 230, and then it just starts grinding its way up to 270s. What I like about this is the higher lows it's performing, and then it uses the VWAP as support right here, and then we get a nice pop, 25-cent pop right here. I just really like this. This is just great. Next up is GBR. GBR going from $2 to $4.40, grinding up all day. And then you got the lunch hour consolidation right here. And then after lunch, we get just momentum pushing into this, going from 270, pushing up to 360, consolidating, and then popping up to a high of 440. GEMP, head and shoulders on the 3-minute chart. So you got your shoulder right here, and you got your head, and you got another shoulder right here, and then this would be the neckline right here at 210. Whenever I see a pattern on a chart, I just goes to show you, traders love patterns. And then this is GEMP again. So going back to this one, we had the head and shoulders. You recognize the pattern, you draw the neckline on it at the support, and you also connect the lower highs on this. You connect, like I did, the lower highs on this, and I drew the neckline on it right here. It's bouncing off that neckline support, and then it finally broke out of this trend line right here. It pulls back, hits $2 support again, and then off she goes, and she ran all the way to 240, bouncing right off of old resistance right here. As you can see, it came up here, it got denied at the trend line, comes down to support, bounces up, and it was having a little trouble right here in this 215 area, as this was old resistance right here. And then when it goes up and it comes back down, it's looking for support, and the last known chart support or resistance was right here, and that's where it bounced at. Next we got GERN. Once again, another pattern breakout. We got a nice trend up here, and this is the 65-minute, going from 325 to a high of $7. Now this pulls back really hard. This is a lot of profit taken right here. But then this starts to consolidate, and it starts to consolidate making higher lows. And I drew a line here up, connecting all the higher lows. And then I drew a resistance line right here because it failed when it had this big drop and bounced. It failed to break above this level. And then that's where I would draw my line. And even going back, you can see it failed to break above right here and right here. And right here a little bit. And it even bounced off this area a couple times. So I was comfortable saying this is a great line for resistance or support. And it's a mental area, 575. Consolidated, then it breaks out of this pattern from 550 to 625. Great. Awesome. Then we got IGC. IGC was just a really crazy one. Let's see what I wrote here. IGC, good example of resistance still holding pre-market, then slowly pulled back at open. So we had resistance right here at 160. And it failed to break this level right here, which is the previous day high. And it trends down, and then after hours and even pre-market, it starts moving back up again. And if you go back and look, the previous day high was 160. It failed to break out of that level, and it also made a lower high. You got this downfall right here. You got to connect all this stuff and know all this stuff when analyzing stocks. There's so much to analyze and look at. Just don't blindly jump in on stocks and hope that they go up. Hope is not an option. And then this is IGC again. Like I said, IGC was a real crazy one. Just really crazy moves. We had pre-market action here, but then it just went sideways all day. And then even after hours, it broke up to new highs, but it was still going sideways. Then the next day, pre-market, it started to gap up, and then it pulled back down to this 225 area. Remember, every 25 cents is going to be a mental support and resistance level. And then from 225, this surges up to 270, the previous high right here, and then just explodes at the market open, running from 260 to a high of $4, all within the first half hour of the market open from 9:30 to 10. And then this is just a zoomed out chart on the 3-minute of what this did. This ended up hitting a high of 750. And you can see we had a nice spike here to a high of $4. Then it starts to fade out. Then you get consolidation right here at $2.25 to $3. Spikes up, pulls back, got your consolidation, gaps up. Then you have a day of consolidation. And then the next day this starts grinding up. I would call this all right here accumulation. This is all what's happening right here is accumulation. Then towards the market close right there, you could see this surged from $4 to $5.25, and then carried over into the next day. And this hit a high of $7.50. Just really, IGC was awesome. You can see when it surged up right here, then you got the panic, referring back to the picture that I showed you with the disbelief, with all the words. That's the exact same picture as the one I showed you guys. And like I said, it happens over and over again. You got your greed, and then you got your panic right here. JAGX was just insane. This, I think, was at 50 cents, and this ran all the way up to 250. MNKD. Gaps up pre-market, and then it would just, during the day, it really wasn't doing too much. It was slowly but surely grinding up. And then you got your lunch hours sideways action right here. And then towards the end of the day, this is when you got this ramp up. And then it carried over into the next day. It held its highs after hours at 2:45. And then market opens, pulls back. You're gonna have people selling. If a stock goes on a good run and then the next day it gaps up and the market opens, I want to see a pullback. I don't want to see a stock instantly straight run. I want to see a nice, what do they call it, red to green move. I want to see people taking profit from holding it the previous day, then U-shaping back up and around, and then crossing above the price where it opened to get that surge in that powerful move up. And that's what this did. This opened at 245, pulls back to 225, starts to U-shape back up, and then you can see right here it tested the price that it opened right here. And then it pulls back, and then it surged up from 245 to, what is that, 263, I want to say, and just kept going to 280, pulls back, and then hits a high of just over $3, it looks like. And again, this is another example of that picture I showed you guys with all the words. And looking at all of these pictures too, the theme on it looks to be you have either a morning spike or a stock going sideways the first half of the day. And then at the end of the day, that's when you started to see a lot of action. I see that on a lot of these charts. Sideways action from 9:30 when the market opens to around 1 p.m. And then the last couple hours, we get this nice spike up. And that's the importance of taking pictures of these. You start taking pictures of all these charts, and then over the weekend analyzing them and looking at them and comparing them, you'll really start to see a pattern happening over and over and over again. The market is very trendy. And again, another picture right here of the example. You got your greed up and you got your panic selling down. I told you this it happens a lot. MNKD again. You got your just grinding up right here, pulling back to the VWAP, and then just grinding up from $1.65 to 263. And this is just happening on all of these stocks. Maybe a little grinding action, slowly grinding up in the morning, and then the last part of the day it just starts going crazy and spiking up. MRNS on the 65-minute chart. So it released earnings right here. We got a gap down, then we had a nice bounce right here, and then from there on we had this consolidation, and then it finally broke out of this consolidation, pulls back, old resistance now is holding as support, as you can see right here. It's confirming support and it takes off, and then it comes back down, and this is still holding as support, and then it just takes off again. This is like a $3 range right here that you could have taken advantage of. You had an opportunity right here when it broke out, and then back when it came down here. And this is the power of looking at multiple time frames. Looks like it had resistance right here is because of where this gapped down at. Now when you have a gap down like this bottom of this candle here, when it comes back up to it, is going to act as resistance. And stocks love filling gaps. Not that it happens all the time, but most of the time, stocks love filling gaps. MRSN, I thought this was just a good one. You can see the history here. You got this big move up here from 14 to 24, and then pretty much one day took back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 days of gains. one day took back 9 days of gains, and you got this big drop right here, and then you got a big spike up, and then it gaps down, and then starts grinding its way back up. This is the daily chart. So this is probably a couple months right here of grinding up. And then you got one day that pretty much took everything back. And what I liked about this too is it grinded up and it had trouble here at the 50-day, and it kept trying to go and go. And then here it gaps up and it touches the 200-day, and then it falls and gives everything back from 16 to 1050. Next up here we got MTEM, and I wanted to show this one. This had a range from $6 to $7.25, and it just goes to show you support holding multiple times. Where it kept bouncing at this purple line is the previous day's close. I like to try to plot out the previous day's close and the daily open price. So this came down, we had selling here, comes up U-shapes, blows through the open price and surges up, pulls back and goes and hits a high at 725, pulls back to 625, and then slowly grinds up to 680, pulls back, and then hits a high of 7. Pulls back again, and this is patience right here. You see it's making lower lows, waiting for it to make. I want a stock to prove to me that it's going to start making higher lows. And this isn't proving to me that it's making higher lows, it's making lower lows. Then we get sideways action here. And the sideways action means it's starting to lose momentum and volume, and then it just dies out. Stock comes out with an offering after hours for 30 million. The risk of swinging penny stocks. I took a picture of this because it gaps up from 425 and it hit a high of 725. It went sideways all day. It just goes to show you, if you swing these penny stocks, most of these penny stocks, the companies are looking for money. If the stock spikes, this is the risk of holding these penny stocks. They want to take the money and reinvest it into the company and grow as a company. And this closed at the end of the day. Stock comes out with an offering literally probably minutes after the close, and it drops from $6.25 down to $5. And then we got a crazy one here, NBEV, going from $2.25 to $10. Now look at just all this grinding up action. This is just awesome. So much opportunity on this. NBEV, and this is the 3-minute chart. NBEV again. Here, I believe we had an offering. The stock gapped down. Yeah, stock had an offering, and it gaps down. And it kept selling off and selling off and selling off. And it bottoms out here at 225. And then it just went sideways here. Even looking like it's going to just slowly die off. And then the next, this was on a Friday, I believe. It goes from $4 to a high of almost $6 right here. This is just great stuff. And the power of zooming out and looking at the big picture. Looking at multiple days together. NBEV again. You got your grinding up action here. Trending up. Topping out here at $10. 1, 2, 3. And then you got your hill going on down. And referring once again back to the picture with all the words I showed you. This happens over and over and over again. NBEV on the daily. I took a picture of this just to show you this thing going from $1.50, and in 3 days this was touching $5.50, gapping up 1, 2, 3 times. Here, the first day, it comes right up to the 50-day or the 200-day, and it closes just a little bit over it. And then the next day, it gaps up above it. And when it looks like, look, if you look at this wick, where did it pull right back to? It pulls right back to this 200-day and goes right back up. NBEV again. This was just a lot of just crazy, unpredictable moves on this. When it looked like it was going to sell off and keep downtrending, it would just start spiking up and getting momentum and just keep on going and going. You know, I know this stock probably messed up a lot of traders, but then this stock also made a lot of traders money to the long side and the short side. That's how volatile this stock was. Same thing with IGC. NIO, now this was just a crazy one. I believe NIO was a newer IPO, I believe. This went from $6.75 to a high of $10 right here. And I think I have more pictures of this. This is a low float stock, and it just goes to show you what a low float stock can do when it gets momentum and buying volume. And you start rotating the float from $6.75 to $9.75. That's a $3 move here. NIO again, and this is on the 1 minute chart. We're only an hour into the market, and this goes from $6.60 to a high of $8.40. $2 move to in just what, a half an hour. No, an hour, just over an hour of the market open. And you can see, even if you missed this right here, and once it pulls back, and once it starts establishing it's making higher lows, that's showing me strength. Put a resistance line right here, then as soon as it pops over it, look at what it did. Even from $8, you got a nice 40-cent move right there. You don't have to don't always try to swing for a home run. Don't always try to eat the whole pie. I only want a piece of the pie. And then we got NLST. NLST, we got sideways action, and it's just failing to break out above $1. With the $1 is the hardest resistance line in penny stocks. This fails to hold above and break out from $1. It's making lower highs. And then we get a drop off to 70 cents, comes back up to 80, and then falls all the way down to a low of 45 cents. And you can see the declining volume here and the selling pressure increase. NLST again, and then this is what we were just looking at right here, and this is what it did the day before, going from 35 cents to 55, pulling back to 40 cents, going sideways right here, and again, look at right at the end of the day, after lunch hours, we get this ramping action and this momentum. This is what a lot of stocks did in September. A lot of failed breakouts or sideways action in the morning, and then at the end of the day, that's when all the action happened. And this went from 40 cents to after hours, hitting a high of almost $1. NLST again. Looks like I took a trade on this. This was just a lousy $45 winner. 3-minute chart. Got up in it early at $1, drops to $1.90, then moves up and breaks $1 and runs to $1.10. If you look at the monthly chart, the 50 moving average is right at $1. So that's going to act as a resistance wall. I look at the daily chart, the weekly chart, and the monthly chart. And on the monthly chart, the 50-day moving average was right at $1. That's going to act as a very, very strong resistance. So not only do we have the $1 acting as a mental resistance, we have it showing on the monthly. The 50-day moving average on the monthly is at $1. So on the max pretty much time frame for the daily, the moving average is a resistance. That's going to be very, very hard to break. And that's why this failed. Next up, we got OGEN. So OGEN slowly grinding on a Friday and gaining momentum towards the end of the day. This type of action happens all the time. So once again, we got just slowly grinding right here through the morning and lunch hours. And then once again, the end of the day, we get this. This is when it took off. Going from 90 cents, getting resistance here at $1, pulling back, and then coming back even stronger with buying volume and breaking out of the dollar. And I believe this after hours hit a high of like $1.25. And then this is what OGEN did earlier in the month. So first day great, the next day choppiness with third day dropping off. This was earlier in the month. This went from 50 cents, and you can see here it had great momentum right here, hitting a high of 92 cents. And then the next day here, this was one of the biggest percentage gainers. Now, this is an example of an overcrowded stock. You could see this. It goes up sharply, down sharply, up sharply, down, up, down. That's choppiness. That's telling me that this is flooded with volume. The volume is so high, it's untradeable. Now, what do you mean by that? When the volume is so high, it's untradeable. When you have a stock that has so much volume, I like to try to play stocks under, keeping the volume under 5 million. I mean, anything really over 5 million is pushing it, because the more volume you have, the more randomness you have. So you have all of the more volume, you just have traders buy entries everywhere, traders sell entries everywhere. So it's really hard to try to predict or even direct where the stock's going to go, because literally every penny you move, someone previously bought in or sold or is looking to sell or is looking to buy. And it's just so much that it's really going to make the stock choppy. And then the next day, everybody just sold it and it dropped off again. PRQR going from 1150 to a high of 1750. And this just kept getting momentum and momentum. And right here it drops off. But then by 10 o'clock, all day, this just kept making higher lows. You got it right here, coming up to the VWAP, acting as resistance. That's an ascending triangle. Pops over the VWAP. See how it surges up and over that? And then it stops right here at the day high, right here. Pulls back, almost kisses the VWAP, tests the resistance again. Fails. Pulls back, now the VWAP is acting as support, and you got old resistance right here acting as support. So that's telling me there's strength in this. And then it starts confirming that strength with higher lows, building its way back up to this resistance line. And again, you got an ascending triangle. Comes right up, getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And then at 1360, this pops up and surges up to 1450. And you're always going to get a pullback. Always. Not always, but most of the time. After a spike, you're going to get a pullback. People are going to want to take profit. And this pulled back to $14, a mental area right here. And then this went to a high of 15. And then you had all selling right here. And then the last hour, half hour of the day, this just went supernova from 14 to 1750. Just a great chart right here. Great. PRQR was awesome. And then we got RRG. RRD, not sure where I was going with this. Maybe 2 good spikes 2 days in a row. This is showing the power of adding stocks to your watch list. And right here, from 5.25, this spiked up to almost $6. Pulls back, and then kept holding this 550-ish area. Next day, it opens up at 550, and it spikes up again. And this is the power now of looking at the previous day high and where this stock struggles to break out from. You can see here it struggled to break above $6. We got another spike here, comes right up to 590, couldn't even break it, and then starts to drop back off. RRD again, pops over the 50 MA at 540, then on the intraday chart pulls back to the 540 area and bounces up. Compare with other picture, this is the daily. So we got the 50-day moving average here, 545. Where did this pull back after this spike to? 545, right here. And then it bounced and held this area. And then it runs right up to this old resistance right here. And that's what happened. Remember when I said you have a gap down? The bottom of this candle right here where the gap is, that's most of the time going to hold as resistance. And then you got a pattern forming right here, and this is why we wait for a breakout of the pattern. This is a breakout to the downside. This was forming lower highs and higher lows, getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and this just broke to the downside right here. You can see it surged down. SBOT, again, this is another chart pattern. You put a resistance line right here. The stock is failing to break out of this 175 area right here. And it's slowly, it looks like it's making higher lows right here. That's why I drew this line up. So this pattern's getting tighter and tighter on the daily. When you spot a pattern on the daily chart, the weekly chart, or the monthly chart, the bigger the time frame of the pattern and when it breaks out, the bigger the move. So this was an ascending triangle on this starting to form on the daily, and it broke out to the downside, and this is when it surged down right here. Completely broke the pattern. Next up is SSKM. Company releases earnings, spikes, then consolidates and spikes again. $2 to almost $4 in 2 weeks. Now this is a great one I want to talk about. Great chart right here. Company releases earnings, okay? Stock does really nothing. It pulls back right here, and this is on the 65-minute chart. Then you get a spike here from $1.90 to $2.10. This resistance pulls back again, still nothing. Hours later, starts coming up, finally breaks this area right here. You get a pullback, then the next day it gaps up. You get sideways action, and it just slowly starts grinding up and up and up. And this is from $2 up to almost $3 right here. And this is the power of looking at multiple time frames. Then you got your consolidation here. Then you get selling. Then it rebounds and starts trending right back up. From 240, this starts trending up and up and up and up to a high of 375. Pulls back. You got your panic selling right here. You got your long wick. This is telling me prices being rejected lower. It consolidates, making higher lows, coming up to this resistance right here, getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and then explodes out of this pattern up. Perfect chart. This is a great chart, and this is going to go into the chart Hall of Fame. And this is the ticker SSKM. And again here, this is SYN. This went on just a really crazy day, the last trading day of September, going from 250 to a high of $8 within from 9:30 to noon. This went from 250 to $8. 2.5 hours. Spike right here. Pulls back to 625, makes a higher low, pops out of this resistance right here, and then from 675 you get another shot up to $8. And this is double topping here at $8, and then price falls. This is again, once again, referring back to the picture I showed you guys earlier with all the words. This happens over and over again. And this is a low float stock. And then this is SYN on the 2-minute. And it does not look like much zoomed in, but this stock Friday, last day of September, went from $2.50 to $8. $8. That's a 550 range. Beautiful. And then this is on the 3-minute. So the 3-minute was the last one I took. And then this is TLRY, and this is a very important one. This is like the granddaddy of the pot stocks. This went for all the way back here to August. This was at like $25. And you can see this just starts gradually going up and up and up. From $25 from August, in a month, it touches $300. And then when it touched 300, it drops all the way down to 100 and starts trending back up to 150. This is just a insane chart here. Insane. I've never, my year and a half of doing this is my first time seeing a stock go from $25 to $300. You don't see this often. And they released earnings right here as well. And it must have been great earnings because it just did this. And this again is a low float stock. And this is what these low float stocks can do. But you've got to be careful with low floats because they can burn you if you don't know what you're doing. TLRY again. That's the 65-minute. This was the 65 minutes zoomed out, okay? Now this next one, this is the daily, going all the way back to August 1st. This was at $22. And then on September 19th, this touched $300. Wow. Just over a month and a half it took for this to run up that $275. And then you just got a wicked move down. This made a lot of people rich. A lot of people made money on this. And you could just see the volume sidestepping up and up and up and up and up and up right here. Still can't believe it. And then this is Tesla, the day after the SEC comes out and says that they are suing, what's his name, Elon Musk. Stock goes from 308, it looks like, down to 265. And some people are saying this will probably be the last time Tesla sees $300. We'll see. That's just a big drop. And I put the Fibonacci retracement on this. And look at this. This is interesting. It comes and it drops all the way down to from 308 down to 265. And it comes right up to the 23.6, and that's acting as resistance. And it's falling right back down. I like to throw Fibonacci retracements on charts. I think Fibonacci's retracements and just the whole Fibonacci theory is very interesting. And if you don't know anything about the Fibonacci, I'd say it's worth looking up and knowing for sure. Not only does it revolve around the market, it revolves around life and the universe as well. And that's it. This is the last one. So 45 charts for September. These are the best charts that I thought were the best charts in my opinion, for September, and going all the way back, you see a reoccurring theme of this. Going up and going down. And we've seen a lot of stocks doing this. And a lot of stocks as well, we had morning and lunch hours sideways, and then towards the last hours of the day, power hour, they would go on just huge surges and crazy spikes up. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you liked it. Tell me your leave comments down below. Tell me what were some of your favorite charts and tickers from September. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Join the community so we can all just grow as traders, bounce ideas off each other, and like I said, just grow as traders. That's the whole point of this, is to grow as a community. So if you're not yet subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I love doing this, and I could see myself doing this for the rest of my life. This is how much I love the market, and I love learning all about the market and sharing that with you guys. So next time, guys, later.